We will start. Because of time, we'll start. Okay, so kindly let them know that we are starting. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, please, we are.
Yes, yes.
Yes, please.
All right. So today, any question from last week? I see some of you have sent the assignment. I've seen a couple of you guys doing a good job. Some too are missing the way small, but it's understandable at this point. But I usually want to appreciate your understanding of the subject matter as we progress. And so please, it's important that you do it and share with me so that I can review and advise accordingly, or look at the direction or which route to engage that is more useful or more meaningful to you. So such assignment, when it comes in, kindly try and partake in it. Today we're going to look at any question. Any questions so far? All right. So today we move straight. We are going to look at consumer behavior in the digital era, and then we extend it with segmentation, targeting, and positioning. Okay. So basically, when we talk about consumer behavior, what comes to your mind? Okay, so what comes to your mind when we talk about consumer behavior? Let's start by discussing it. What comes to your mind when we talk about consumer behavior? What comes to your mind?
Okay, Doc, I want to try.
Yeah.
So I certainly the businesses which promote their goods and other services online expect some reaction, just as with the traditional systems. And so it is the reaction of the consumer or even the customer to these new developments digitally, because anything that is being promoted, how we respond to it when the customer likes it, how they show when the customer doesn't like it, how the customer is able to express their dismay or approval of the services or products being displayed or marketed. That's how I understand it.
All right, that's good. Any more direction? Does anybody have an idea? What comes to your mind? I need another. Today I'm on the ladies, so my ladies today they're minimum. So I need to hear a lady's voice today. Yeah. Is there any more around? All right. So basically, when we talk about consumer behavior, or before you even come to the details, let's look at the scenario. Let's pick it out of the books. Let's come to reality. Often we all say from time to time, we're able to accuse people of bad behavior. Or sometimes the incidents happen and you think that, oh, Charlie, your behavior wasn't good. On what basis do you really say that somebody's behavior is appropriate or otherwise? Okay, so behaviors are usually the reactions and the processes, the action and inactions that we take towards something. And in this case, as a consumer, you always have a certain right because you have multiple products and services that probably will be chasing your interests. And for that matter, your behavior or your reaction towards every little thing that these organizations are doing matters. In fact, it has evolved to a point whereby organizations must understand the consumer's expectation to the barest minimum. But because of analytics, now you have no excuse for missing the point. That's what it means. Okay. But let's look at what the literature says. Basically, it refers to the processes and activities involved when individuals or groups select, purchase, or use, evaluate, and dispose of products and services, ideas, or experiences that satisfy their needs and wants. Clearly indicating that the act of behavior, the act of a consumer behavior goes beyond just the purchase. Okay, so the processes that the consumer goes through in acquiring the product, use, experience, after experience, and actually dispose. So those who are into selling of sachet bags of water, they must be concerned about the floating around of sachet water, bottles, empty bottles all over the place. In fact, in some jurisdictions, you will have to pay for that. You cannot be given the right to produce anything that's got to do with disposability that you cannot control. If you go to the Scandinavians, before they give you the permit to even produce the bottle of water, you should have to explain how you are going to manage these PET bottles and what you are going to do. In fact, you have to explain the customer journey to demonstrate that you are in control. Otherwise, you won't even get a permit to even start the production. Unfortunately, we are a bit at a low level and we are a bit unconcerned about some of these things. And so often we see the customer interest as only at the purchasing level, but the way it is used and disposed is very key in this discussion. It also examines how consumers make decisions and how psychological, social, cultural, economic, and personal factors influence these decisions. And there's no doubt that in making decisions in these areas, it goes beyond just economic issues, psychological, cultural. In our part of the world, culture, there are some religions in this country that frown on certain things. They won't buy certain colors, they won't buy certain products with certain names, and so on. So cultural, religious barriers are also a key component when it comes to consumer behavior. And before you can venture into any of these markets, it is important for you to appreciate what it represents in their cultural domain. So Philip Kotler and Gary Armstrong defined consumer behavior as the buying behavior of final consumers, individuals and households that buy goods and services for personal consumption. They restrict it for personal consumption. If you look at our earlier definition, it goes beyond individual consumption. It talks about groups. Okay, so this is to let you know the various dimensions of the issue of consumer behavior. Now, let's look at some of the key elements of a consumer behavior. So, upon the few definitions we've given, there are a few things that run through. So, we can talk about the consumer decision-making process. Whether you are an individual, a group, an organization, or whatever, you always have a process in making the decision to acquire one thing or the other. And in fact, if it is an organization, it is an established way of acquiring and disposing, but acquiring, using, and disposing of. So when a company wants to buy laptops for staff, what do? They put it in a well-established organization. They develop the scope for it. They publish it. They invite bids. They get a supply. They select the best value. The product is supplied. Payment is done. Machines are used. Servicing mechanism is included in the processing, in the processing of in the process of buying the product. And then in the accounting section, these products have lifespan, they have shelf life, and at some point in time, after a certain number of years, this product automatically goes for what do you call it, disposition. And when it comes to disposing them, companies also have very specific guidelines in disposing some of these products. Now you switch it to an individual. If you want to buy a laptop, you are not concerned. I mean, how many of us would want to buy a brand new laptop? Organization is going to ask for a brand new laptop, but as individuals, a lot of us, most of the laptops we use are used ones. And we walk to various markets, various IT shops. We tell them what we need. They give us what we want. As long as we can type and send emails and the machine is working, we don't really care about some of the things that come with it, whether it is it has any environmental implication. Usually, as an individual, you care less about these things. Yours is to ensure that it's working. The processes, you don't mind. And when it comes to disposition, when it breaks down, you may want to go and repair and use. Whilst an organization wants to dispose it, you would want to just repair it and use for the next number of months. And all these things indicate the differences in the customer's behavior. And so as digital advocates, when we put our brands there, it's important to always come to a point of who we are engaging or who becomes our target audience. Now, you can also look at consumer motivation and perceptions. So if you are buying these laptops and at the decision-making point, you make an individual decision, it may go against you when auditors come in. So for a company that want to buy computers, the specifications are set. In fact, they won't buy anything less than what the specification or what the scope describes. Whereas you, the individual, when you go there to buy a laptop, I don't know how many of us, when we're going to buy a laptop, had in mind whether we're going to buy 11th generation, i7, i9, 11th generation, 2.6, 2.0 gig processor, all those things. We don't take those things. A lot of us will not take it into consideration. Unless you are somebody with that background, you don't really care much about these things. Okay, so your motivation for buying and the perception for which you buy is not the same as somebody who is buying for a use. So if you're a parent and you are buying a laptop for children to use. Now, recently, one of my nephews who is going to school, I think the last opening for university, was going to university. The mother went to buy a laptop. That was about 16,000 cedis. I was like, why would you buy a laptop worth 16,000 cedis for somebody who's going to the university for the first time? You just get it at 2,500, use one, let him go and mess it up. As if I knew. He went to school, and when he came back the first semester, after the first semester, the laptop didn't come home. Initially, he told his mother that it is broken down, and later he couldn't find it. He confirmed he break it down. You can't even find it, indicating he's just lost it. So the motivation for buying that 16,000 cedis worth of laptop for your son is, and the perception is different in so many ways. Somebody like me who understands education, who understands what students can do, I'm not going to buy a 16,000 cedis worth of laptop for my son, knowing very well that it may not come back. All right. So I'm going to make a decision, and that decision is that I won't spend more than 3,000 cedis on a very low budget used one. Let him go and mess himself around at least for the first year, maybe lose it, maybe break it or something. He learned some lessons from it, and then probably I'll upgrade it when it's about level 300, knowing very well that from there he will behave a bit more sensible, a bit more. He would have understood the system a bit more, behave much more sensible, and now you can hand much more valuable items that require more responsibility. So some of the key elements of consumer behavior varies from what is happening. their attitude, beliefs, and learnings. So, like I'm saying, I'm approaching this because of the learnings I have. Because I've seen students who are not my children. I've seen a lot of students, because I teach, I've seen a lot of students recklessly losing their equipment, losing their phones, some will come to class, they leave the phone there and go, will come to class, come and sleep in the classroom when lectures are happening. And then before they realize, they leave their whole laptop and their bag and they are gone for 2 days. And they will be reporting, they will be chasing everybody, asking, begging and crying for it while the laptop will be lying in the lecture hall. Okay, so because of the learnings I have learned from students, I will not trust any student at any level, especially undergrad, to go to school with a 16,000 cedis worth of laptop, because I know that there isn't much that is going to come out of it. All right. Then there's also the influence of culture, family, and social groups. That could also change the dynamics, because sometimes the decisions that people make have nothing to do with the value proposition, but people's association and family and cultural norms. So it doesn't matter how much value I'm getting. It might be less, but the most important thing is that I am making that purchasing decision because of the social background. Now, if you know one of a very interesting social group that has come to stay is the East Legon. Those of you who know, who are a bit popular in who follow social trends, one of the new groups, but wealthy people that are creating their own circles, the East Legon, or they call the East Legon Men's Club or something. A group of, business-minded, wealthy people who come together in the name of Keep Fit and all those other things, and then they end up, bonding, familiarizing themselves and moving. Now, you notice that they decide to go for a program, and almost everybody uses a Mercedes-Benz. So if you don't have a Mercedes-Benz and you belong to that group, what it means is that you probably have to go, if it means go and loan money to go and buy the Benz, you should. And the reason is that you cannot belong to that group, you cannot be a core member if you don't have this kind of lifestyle. Such that when they are going for a program, when they all decide that, okay, at this program, we are all using Mercedes-Benz, everybody must drive in their own Mercedes-Benz vehicles. You will see any other car joining, all right, telling you or indicating to you that this is a social group of a certain kind and that this is our identity. So their decisions are influenced by the social position. Okay, then there's also buying patterns and consumption habits and post-purchase satisfaction and loyalty. Now, let's look at the modern consumer. So the modern consumer comes with something interesting. And for the modern consumer, the focus of a modern consumer is value-driven, often considering ethical issues, social and environmental factors alongside price and quality in purchasing decisions. Okay, now this reflects the growing importance of authenticity, sustainability, and corporate social responsibility in contemporary markets. So in a modern consumer, the modern consumer is looking beyond the social affinity. The modern consumer is looking at value driven. And how is he defining his value? The modern consumer is telling you that people like me and you, when I say modern consumers, I'm talking about people like me and you who are learning, who are very observant, who gather information before making a decision, who no longer make decisions by our stomachs. Okay, that's why we end up a lot of time bastardizing the politicians that they go and make stomach direction decisions for the country and all that. Because we as individuals, we are often value driven in our decision making, whereas the politician is looking beyond value. Okay, the politician's interest is what to create to be able to employ more people, bring his party members, ensure that they have job to do. So instead of doing something effective, they want to do something that is liberal enough to employ more people. So they will create some policy guidelines that sometimes you can think about it for the rest of your life. You can never understand. It's only the politicians who have a better understanding of that or can appreciate that value. All right. But we must understand that the interest is not the same. You as an individual, the modern consumer is driven by value, not just the good quality or the quantity or the price. People are looking at the value proposition, looking at the ethical considerations. Okay, people are social environmental factors. All right, and then also, of course, the price and the quality in the purchasing of whatever they want to do. Then there's also another dimension of it, which also considers connectivity, digital connectivity, the information empowerment, and value-driven individuals who actively participate in marketplace. And then the issue of co-creation. Now, especially when it comes to services, the modern consumer is interested in what went into it and how they want it to be done. And that's why very successful brands in the world, like Nike, and a lot of very interesting, very blue chip companies who are emerged, who are sustaining, who are leading the industries, are now focusing on the interest of the organization, interest of the consumer, and its value proposition. So Nike, for instance, says that you design what you wear or design what you want to wear, and let's produce for you. You can imagine if somebody tells you that, okay, you are a stylish guy, you like shoes, so design what you want and let's produce for you. Go to buy whatever fabric that you want, design something and let's sew it for you. Of course, you feel part of it. Okay, you feel satisfied. Okay, just like you go to the doctor asks you what the problem is, you explain yourself to the doctor, and even at the point of prescription, you are bold enough to tell the doctor that, oh, I don't want this medicine. When I take this medicine, I get this kind of reaction. So change it for me. Doctor is also agreed to change it. And you get something that is familiar with you. What it means is that you two are co-creating the solution to your sickness. And it is very fulfilling when the consumer feels that it's part of the conversation. Now, in the consumer behavior in the digital age, there are a few things we must consider. There are a few things that cannot be overlooked. For instance, information search and evaluation. So just I think the past week ago, the last about 2 weeks, I wanted to buy a laptop. And I just went online to search for laptops. And you come across people who take their time to now explain to you what laptops they have, what processors they have, how the storage systems work, and so on. Okay, and I take my time to look at all the videos, and it becomes very educative. Although some can be very complicated, and you notice that if you understand the language, some you don't know what they are talking about, but they say all sorts of things. When it comes to phones, people are now getting into clone phones and original phones. So people will tell you the same phone make, there are original ones and there are substandard ones. And of course, they have different prices. And they will direct you on how to. It will not fit there. It will not fit. Is the battery running down? It's okay. It won't run down. It's done. Sorry. So in information search and evaluation, so the consumer is always searching for information, searching and evaluating what is the most appropriate for use. Then there's also interactivity and engagement, which is one of the key components, and we see that this is one of the key components. Gradually, it has become the deal breaker. When we talk about social media, when we talk about all the digital platforms that is used to enhance or interact with the customer, we are talking about engagement. Now, the modern consumer, nobody buys without effective engagement. All right, nobody's going to buy from you if you are not effectively engaging and providing a resource. And when I say a resource, it means that providing a good information that helps the consumer to make a decision. All right, as much as they look for a good deal in whatever they do, modern consumer want to engage Okay, it is the engagement that allow the modern consumer to co-create. It's the engagement that allow the modern consumer to offer to be part of the process and feel ownership of the solution at the end of the day. Then there's personalization and customization. With the help of AI, information is being customized and coming through all the time. Then there's social influence and network. Of course, social media, social network. Now people are beginning to understand and appreciate the need to collaborate. And so sometimes colleagues and friends can tell you something about a brand, although you have not experienced before, you will not buy it. For instance, you want to buy a car and somebody tells you, oh, you want to buy any of these new Chinese cars. They're very, very nice designs. But what about if somebody tells you, oh, Chinese cars, I don't trust it. Though you've not used it before, you are likely not to buy it because of the influence that is exerted by your colleague. And the reason being that you guys belong to a certain kind of society whereby you appreciate each other's contribution to decision making in that regard. There's also e-commerce and m-commerce that also facilitate the realization or the final outcome of all the engagement among consumers, and also actually facilitate the relationship between the consumer and the organization. And the reason is that will give you the e-commerce will give you the opportunity to now consider what value proposition there is in terms of what you are paying, and as an organization, how do you get your money? It's through e-commerce, a situation whereby you create a platform where people can actually pay, make decisions online, and act accordingly. Now, there are a few things you must acknowledge, which is the key characteristics of the modern consumer. So, unlike the ordinary consumer, what we used to know, you talk about price, you just talk about price, and so on. The modern consumer have very interesting characteristics. And for the modern consumer, must be digitally connected. Now, these days, if you say something and it's wrong, even children can even tell you to your face that, express it for you to know that they don't believe what you are saying. And the reason is that everybody can go online and check the information. Okay? So whether it is fake or otherwise, people can now Google and search. Okay? And like Shatawale said, if you don't know me, you for Google. So once you are connected all over the world, people can just run you down. People can just instantly grab what you mean. Then there's also the quest for information. Information that is seeking and informed. So people are looking for information, and organizations are also ready to share. So the feeling is mutual. The concept of information flow is now interactive. It's not like what it used to be back then, whereby the information was one-sided. So those days, Guinness will come and run an advert, will buy airtime for 6 months and run advert on TV. Everywhere you go, you see Guinness all over. But now it's no more. The reason is that whatever you are running, the modern consumer wants something that he can interact. He's not interested in you just throwing things to them. Okay, it's like gifts. People are no more interested in just showing them gifts, like an NGO giving them gifts. People want value. And what is the value? When I take that drink, how do I feel? If I'm having bad reaction, I should be able to tell you. Or if you're advertising the product on TV and I go to the bar and I cannot get it, I should be able to tell you on your face that you are not doing well. And that's what the modern consumer seeks to do. Then also value-driven ethical consideration. Modern consumer is value-driven. So don't go in with a service offering that doesn't offer any value. So for instance, if you cannot offer so when you want to sell a shoe to somebody and all you do is to show the shoe size to the person. No, let me even use shirts. So recently, I tried to buy a shirt online. This shirt I saw online, very nice one. That I like the colors. So I inquired about it, and then the person told me, I asked of the size. And then the person says triple X, yes, from 2X to 4X. So I asked him, the 4X, what is the size? He says 4X. And I said, no, I need proper size dress. And my size, I wear a shirt size of 18, size 18, 17 and a half large or 18. And then he didn't respond. So the next day, the person responded that he doesn't have. Meanwhile, before I indicated to him that my size is 18 or 17 and a half large, he was like, oh, I have 4X. It can fit any size. Are you getting the point? Indicating that if you, the consumer, is not learned enough to get it right, you are likely to get the wrong thing. You won't get the value. So imagine if I had paid this and then it's delivered to me. I can't even wear. I couldn't have worn that shirt. I probably would have to dash it out or return it. And if you don't have a strong organization that has good guidelines or good return policies, it's very difficult to convince them. It's very difficult to convince anybody to take back online deliveries. Sometimes it can be very, difficult to deal with in that sense. And so the modern consumer expect that, you offer certain level of value proposition. Then engagement oriented. So the modern consumer want to be engaged, want to be consulted. Now, I remember there's a friend of mine who sued ECG. Recently ECG was relaying cables into people's houses. I don't know if you were aware. I think just late last year or so, somewhere last year coming, I don't know, I think they've stopped. They were relaying cables into people's houses. A friend of mine, he actually sued ECG for not seeking his consent. He came back from work one day and they had rewired the place. And according to him, he bought, in fact, he's a technical person. So he said his wires are the best, one of the best wires you can find in town. And what ECG was providing him wasn't better than what he already had. And he had gone for, because he's a technical person, he's gone for a specialist to do the wiring the way he wants. So the fact that you are ECG, you can't just walk into my house and do an expose, or you cannot expose all the wires here and out because you are ECG. He actually sued them. They had to come back and redo. They had to rewire exactly the way he wanted it. So sometimes people want to be engaged. All right. So the modern consumer want to be engaged and be part of the process to ensure that at the end of the day, they are satisfied with what they want. Then they are empowered by technology. So these are their apps. I remember when recently I was building a small project, and the medicine gave me some interesting, estimate. Now, when I asked the architect to do the plan for me, the architect did it, and it wasn't just a design, but it was a full package, a design that came with full quantities, from plumbing work to painting to electrical, with every little information that you need on the project. I paid for it. So when it got to the implementation, of course, I got local masons to help do the job. And then this mason comes and give me some strange orders, strange estimates. So when they say they need 10, I go into the system, I realize that they only need 5. Then I provide to them. Something funny? The 5 that you provide is able to fit the job well. Sometimes if there are leftovers, very, very little, very small leftovers. Now, portions where you use your discretion or they decide to force you to buy something that you don't want to buy, you end up realizing that either they misuse it, or when they finish, there are a lot of leftover that you don't even know what to do. Okay, indicating that, getting to a point whereby access to smart platforms has become necessary. Platforms where you can search, best practices, what is being done elsewhere. It shouldn't be what you know in your mind. It shouldn't be always what you have. But employ technologies that helps you to do the job and be able to fulfill the objective of what you want at the end of the day. Then experience focus. For the modern consumer, if somebody is asking for an engagement, it means that person wants to experience it. And the experience can be in the form of emotions that helps connect. Okay, so in storytelling, for instance, the consumer would want something that helps the consumer to connect and ensure that the expectation or whatever you want has been actually fulfilled. Now let's look at some key factors influencing the consumer behavior. So, in other words, you can put them on the economic, personal, psychological, and then cultural in nature. So, these are just to guide you. In that regard. Now, let's see how consumer behaviors manifest. So, when people manifest their behaviors, it comes through certain ways. And the manifestation comes out of the motivation. Okay, so what drives what the person needs? Okay, that's the motivation. What is the motivation for going for a particular color, a particular variant? Now, people drink, those of us who are into maybe drinking alcohol, for instance. So why do you drink Guinness and not Club? Why do you drink Club and not Star? Or otherwise? Or why do you drink, the ladies who go the software, why do you drink Smirnoff Ice and not Hunters or Savannah? Those stuff. Okay, what is the motivation for having one? And why will somebody also go for the very hard ones? Okay, those that they're able to mix it like punch. All right, somebody before they even start drinking the beer would get something to settle before they drink the beer. So the question is, what is the motivation? What is driving you to be able to get a hot shot before you even take a bottle of Guinness? It's only the consumer that can explain that motivation. Okay, and that motivation may come out of something that they've learned, whether conventional or unconventional, or whether they've learned something the right way or otherwise. They might get it wrong. Sometimes you might learn the wrong thing for the wrong reason. But once there's some kind of learning, maybe somebody told him that, oh, you have to take that shot first before you take that one, and then it will open the space for you to now enjoy your food. So you might have learned it wrongly, but hey, that's what has fed into the person's motivation. Okay, and in learning also comes from your attitudes and beliefs. Of course, the way Akans marry is not the same as the way Northerners marry. What do you call it? The Gans will marry, the Ewes will marry. There are differences in all these ethnic groups. And the reason is that there's some kind of belief in what they practice. And that is actually manipulated by the mental position and all ideas that consumers have. So you want to go into a certain family and they'll ask for certain specific things. If you want to belong there, you have to now ensure that you are providing those things. to be able to go through that process. You cannot say that you are from the other side, so in your way, this is what you do. No. If you want, this is the condition. Once you meet the condition, you take whatever you want and you are gone. So your attitude and beliefs also, position you to be able to learn something. And once you go through the process, you end up learning. And that learning becomes a motivation for something you want to do or not. So after that processes, now that you bring the woman to the house, now what is your motivation? Or how do you behave towards the person? What is the perception that comes to mind? Okay, that's now after seeing the attitude and behaviors, now you start to talk about, it manifests in the form of perception. That, okay, based on the things I've seen, I can now perceive that this is what is likely to happen. Then it fits into your perception and that's how consumers collect and interpret information about a product. So it's the experience that they have that helps them to now decide that this works for me or otherwise. And then also finally, there are personal factors, okay? That's unique habits, interests, opinions, age, gender, background, and culture. Okay, these are personal factors that actually influence us. Now let's look at the digital consumer behavior. That looks a little bit about how individual groups and organizations select, purchase, use, and dispose products and services. Okay, and according to Solomon and Sheffman 2019, it's influenced by psychological, social, culture, and situational factors. And in academia, based on what the person is writing, these definitions come up because they want to make a case, argue in a certain way. But in our case, it is important to look at the various dimensions of it so that we can have a better understanding of what we want to achieve. Okay, now it's also important to know that within the digital consumer behavior extends the concept to an online environment. Now, focusing on how consumers interact with brands and make decisions through digital platforms such as websites, social media, mobile apps, and e-commerce marketplace, indicating that the conversation or the engagement online requires certain kind of mechanisms, or it is not as easy as it may sound. Okay, so you want to look at what are the things that can help you to achieve a lot of these things online. And to do that, you need to be able to create a platform that consumers can engage. Okay, because when it comes to digital consumption, it goes beyond just the online, but it looks into other things that are very important and that influence the conversation. Now look at this diagram. It talks about partnership and dynamics in consumer engagement. So we are saying the consumer looks beyond just what is happening. So in between the two ends, there's a kind of interaction between the two that comes in the form of engagement that is influenced by the platforms, or that is mediated or moderated by the platforms that the organization is able to establish to ensure that this kind of conversation or this kind of engagement progress. Any questions so far? Any question?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All right. Now let's look at what happened in the digital age in terms of the consumer. We've already mentioned a lot of them, but we are looking at the role of digital platforms and channels, the impact of digital devices and data, and then the emergence of new consumer segments and behaviors. So these are other complementary factors that has brought about the need to understand the modern consumer, because the modern consumer has positioned itself to be something that require all this to be able to engage them effectively. So if you don't have the right platform and the right channel, you cannot get to the right consumer. And then these consumers are the ones that are engineering the use of devices and data. So if you are using certain devices that are able to exhaust the kind of engagement the organization may want to a certain point. All right. I know people buy certain specific phones, certain specific laptops because of certain functions they are very familiar with. So for instance, people will tell you, I know people who say that, oh, I like buying a particular device because the photograph, when I receive images and videos, they are very clear. I can see it more clearer than other devices, right? So these things actually influence the consumer's decision in a way, all right? And then also, all these things are gradually, but on daily basis, open up the opportunity for a new segment to be established. Sometimes organizations are taken aback in how new segments of consumer keep on springing up. All right. Sometimes it happens purely by accident. We come across a segment of consumers who probably have a certain specific taste, of the brand in a way that maybe the organization has never thought about or have developed the capacity to even make it happen. Okay. All right. Now let's look at some consumer behaviors against organizational reactions. Now, I pay attention to this part because this is what, you see, we are learning these things to be able to serve. As digital advocates, we learn these things to be able to serve our consumers better, primarily. And so when consumers are behaving in a certain way, what does it mean to the organization? What is the remedy for some of these things? So let's look at information access. Okay, now I always say that information accessibility is just the basic of the engagement. The point is that if you don't provide the basic information, the consumer doesn't have any question or don't expect any kind of engagement from the consumer. Because from the consumer's point, he might have his own opinion or objections, but will not open up until you have created or you've started the conversation to a certain point or created a platform for that engagement to happen. So in terms of looking at information access, a consumer actively search online for product information, compare price and read reviews, and then consult social media or influencer before purchasing. What do organizations do? Provide detailed online content, frequent ask questions, comparison tools, review and search engine optimization information to meet the consumer's research needs. So you know that predominantly, before I buy a phone, if anybody wants to buy a phone, the modern consumer is information rich. We want to find out Samsung A16 against Huawei something. Which one is better? Which has better network, which has better camera, which has, so you want to compare. And so when you are positioning your brand, it is important for you to provide an information that helps the consumer to make effective decision. Okay, and that has the potential to push the consumer to forget about the other brand. All right, so you provide an information that is a full-scale information that helps the consumer to actually make a final decision and not to think about something else. Again, let's look at engagement and interaction. So consumers will engage with brands via social media, live chat, email, and apps. They expect two-way communication and personalized experiences. Okay? No consumer will come and stand there and talk about we. They talk about I want this, I don't need this, give me this. It means that everything is personal. The modern consumer is looking at personal stuff. You sell a shoe, somebody walks into your shop and say, oh, me them pay shoe as your what? me. Everything is about me. So you must tailor your engagement as an organization to engage the person at the personal level. Immediately the consumer feels that you are not engaging him or her personally, then start to feel there's something wrong, or you are not interested in the business and may lose concentration. Then there's also speed and expectation. So digital consumers expect rapid response, quick delivery, and seamless online experience. What do organizations do? Organizations implement fast logistics, agile digital operation, and real-time consumer support to meet expectations. And that's why I always argue that why would you want to be present on all the digital platforms? Because if you need to respond to them in real time, will you be able to do that? That is why a lot of social media handles accounts are not doing well, because one business has about 6 different business accounts. So if you want to respond to all of them, it could take you a whole day. You'll be sitting behind a phone answering people's stupid questions for the whole day, and you will get nothing out of it. All right, so it's important to skew it to a way that will enhance your business rather than answering general questions throughout the day without getting any deal. Then there's also the issue of influence of peer and social networks. Of course, the modern consumer, like I indicated earlier on, although it's individualistic, also believe in socialization and collaboration. And so because of that, it will require some social proof, okay? And a lot of times that is sorted and that is expected, or that manifests in influencer endorsement. All right. So what would the organization do? Ensure that use influencer marketing, user-generated content campaigns, and reputation management to leverage peer influence. And empowerment and feedback. Consumers can publicly share experiences, complaints, and feedback online, affecting brand perception. And then lastly, ethical value-based expectation. Modern consumers demand transparency, sustainability, and ethical practice from brands. And the remedies are there. I'll urge you to look at this slide very well, because you are likely to get a question from here. I don't know yet, but you will get a question from here that will test your understanding about how or what to do when you run into such a problem. When consumers are demonstrating certain cues, what do organizations do in response? Okay, vis-a-vis the two genders. Now let's look at partnership and dynamics in consumer engagement. So real-time communication, what does it describe? Instant digital communication, internal and external. And what is the impact? Fast coordination, reduce misunderstanding. Okay. This you must also look at, because it's something that happens when people are looking for data transparency. What are we saying? We are saying shared data, digital data across teams and partners, and then also informed decision and stronger trust. That is the outcome or the impact of the engagement. Automation, the use of AI will give you less friction, more focus on strategic interactions. Personalization, what is the outcome? Higher engagement, loyalty, and co-creation opportunities. Because when you personalize, you tailor the consumption of the expectation of the consumer, and that is likely to trigger some form of loyalty in that way. Then platform dependency, also look at reliance on digital ecosystems. That's new interdependency between organizations and tech platforms. Now, let's look at some of the things that shape online behaviors. Okay, let's see what is shaping some of the digital online behaviors. Now, you can talk about convenience and accessibility. Okay, once people are able to access what they want by information in various forms, whether by text, by video, by images, it becomes more convenient for the consumer to make a decision. Okay, and that adds value to shaping the consumer's perception about what, or the consumer's intention. Then information abundance. The point is that if you don't provide that information to the consumer will get it from elsewhere. And once the consumer is getting it from elsewhere, there's a likelihood that the consumer is going to tilt interest towards where he's getting that information. And once that one happens, you know that you are in trouble. It means that you are losing the person. All right. So it's important for us to understand that in shaping the behavior of the consumer, one of the things we must do is to actually provide information, because the information is abundant. And some of them, later we'll look at, I think, misinformation and disinformation. Some may be manipulated by just disinformation. And so if you don't provide the right information to the consumer would get it from the wrong place and take a wrong decision, which you may be losing at the end of the day. All right. There's also personalization. I won't talk much about that because we've already touched on it. And then there's also social media and peer influence. We have also talked about it. The mobile commerce, of course, the widespread use of smartphones has blurred the line between online and offline shopping experiences now. And out of this point, yesterday in one of my classes, a student asked me a very interesting question. He says that, so in all this, what is the future? In all this digitalization and all the things that the world is going through, what is the future? And I'm telling that it's very simple. What all these things don't offer is that intrinsic satisfaction that we are noted for. And the explanation is very simple. As Ghanaians, okay, or as we know ourselves, we elsewhere may not happen, but here we'll struggle with it in the sense that we believe that when we are offering us a service, we need more than just a service. So you go and buy wache in the morning, and as you buy the wache, we'll ask you, Ubeto wache is 20 cities. Oh, mam go shaba. Oh, and I'm near fine. Na unto willy. So that all that, apart from watching it, then aside the taste that you have for the wache, the other ancillary things that happens around the wache, that makes it more exciting. Okay, so those things, nothing can replace those things. And that is why we are always behind some of these concepts. Because our kind of expectation and our kind of system that we run here is not that robust, seal tight like what the Western world and Asia has been able to achieve. So we always expect for more. If you get a mason to come and build your house for you, you may have your plan and everything, but the mason has the ability to suggest to you some things that may look exciting in your mind, and you may give the go-ahead to be done. And plan, it might not be part of the plan, but because of the relationship you have with the mason, and he's coming every day, he's going, you are giving him money, he's directing you on a few things, if you lower your guard, and then sometimes you make a very stupid decision and give what you are not supposed to give. The reason is that sometimes we expect much more than what, generally is being said. And that is one of the major challenges in our part of the world. So in future, that intrinsic satisfaction people will start to agitate more of that intrinsic satisfaction, because clearly, I don't think people will continue to enjoy these kind of services if they are not specifically intrinsic in nature. Then also there is the issue of instant gratification. Now, nobody is interested in, if Chelsea is playing, I can bet right now in 90 minutes, I'll get my output and get my cash out. Why will you go and stick lotto? That takes 1 week to get response. And that's why even when you look at the lotteries, now almost every day they are drawing, the lottos are being drawn, people are winning, people are losing. The reason is that the modern consumer wants what we call instant gratification. Bake and grind. Nobody is interested in go and come. Oh, loyalty. What was the last time you heard? You know, we used to have Unilever running promotions, and then they will put a car on it. Like as the World Cup is coming, for instance, you see big companies running promotion and say the winners will be taken to the World Cup. But have you seen some recently?
No, sir.
Yes, you can't see them because the modern consumer is no more interested in that. Because if I want to go to the World Cup, I'll find my ways and means to go. I can't come and put my how do I put? I cannot put my interest on the lottery that an organization is organizing. Then they will tell you, you buy Omo. Buy Omo sachet. When you open, there's this key code on it. Enter, go and put it in the bin here and there, and then there will be a national draw. No. Nobody is interested. Now people want instant gratification. Faking crime, we need bet now. My GBC buy in the next 2 hours, the money is in my account. You understand? So that's how it's going. Then there's also consumer loyalty. So people are now looking for loyalty. People are looking for, because of the processes that consumers go through to make a decision. There's one thing that we've not noticed, that consumers are also not happy to go through the process all the time. So for instance, if you know a place that you buy your wache every morning, when you eat it, you don't get diarrhea. When you eat it, you are fine. The taste is okay for you. Why would you go and try another place? It doesn't really justify anything. You go and try another place, and that day you eat it, you have running stomach. Whether it is by the wache or not, you definitely are going to say the new wache is giving you the running stomach. So the point is that people want to be loyal. People want to go through consumers want to go through all these processes and end up being loyal to it. So they scrutinize the process to ensure that there's some form of good service they are getting, for which they want to be loyal to for the rest of their lives. So in summary, the key drivers are technology adoption, social media influence, data-driven personalization, online reviews, and word of mouth, and then mobile commerce are some of the key drivers of the modern digital consumer. Now, in the future, these are the trends. Big data will continue, analytics will continue, predictive analytics for consumer insight, all these things will continue, voice search and smart assist, sustainable consumerism, seamless integrated channels. And I always say, your salary is like 5,000 cedis, 2,000 cedis. Meanwhile, you have ATM card, you have checkbook, you have internet banking, you have mobile banking. So this small 2,000 cedis. Look at the various ways that you can take the money. And we are likely to have more under the omni-channel umbrella. Then there's also memorable user experience. Okay, what is the memorability when consumers use your brand? And then AI personalization and consumer privacy and ethics, which gradually is gaining a lot of traction. So basically, in an online decision-making, it goes through the regular decision-making process that we know: awareness, consideration, decision, purchasing, post, and loyalty and advocacy. I won't waste my time here because this you can easily read. Let's look at some of the challenges. So in all this, the consumers are concerned about cybercrime and security risk, privacy concerns. And privacy is one of the key concerns because, unfortunately, people's data are being harvested without their knowledge. So, for instance, if I visit your platform, if I visit your website, I'm definitely going to leave footprints. I think last week we saw that every online engagement that happens leaves some traces in the form of digital footprints. Now, this digital footprints is also a feast ground for organizations who are mining consumer data for engagement. Now, the painful part of it is that this data is being mined at the blind side of the consumer. You understand? This is not like galamsey mining, and wasting our water bodies. But this one is like you are naked, you don't even know. Because every information about you is out there. Somebody has it. Little. While you don't even know. So tomorrow, when somebody decide to, hold you to ransom, what do you do? You don't know when this is happening. There was a movie I saw on what do you call it? A movie I saw on I think on YouTube or no, it was on Facebook. A very interesting one. A group of friends that are engaged in all sorts of lifestyle. There are 3 different families that are, and there are some husband and wife, and it's an American movie. Husband and wife, 3 different set of couples who are friends. So once in a year they meet to catch up, discuss family issues. Then somebody is able to track all these 3 families and know all the shady deals they are doing. Those who have side chicks, side men, side den, whatever, how much they are spending on these high chicks and all that. Somebody, when they met at the end of the year and they're having their party, somebody decided to show it on the screen for all of them. Although it's a movie, these things happen. What it means is that people always are able to access information that we have not given them the permit, or ethically we have not given them the clearance, or they've not taken our privacy concerns to use. So you'll be there and somebody will send you lotto numbers. Mr. Lotto, be that. Every Saturday morning, somebody will send a lotto number, somebody will send you something funny that you have no idea. Okay, but these things, can be very detrimental to the digital engagement. Then there's also the issue of the digital divide. And the people who are myopic about, who are paranoid about digitalization out of bad experiences. Okay, so they don't have enough infrastructure to develop the confidence in the digital platforms, yet they are forced to use this in a way. So without appropriate knowledge, they are engaged in all sorts of things that then leave them very vulnerable to be exposed. And that can be dangerous. Then there's the issue of also technological addiction and mental health. Okay, that is one of the evolving areas, in when it comes to digitalization, technological addiction. Okay, I bet a lot of you, if you don't even have your phone, you can't even remember your husband or your wife's phone number. When there's an emergency, if something happens right now and they say that mention your wife's phone number, you might not remember immediately. Mention your husband's phone number, you might not remember immediately because it's always on your phone. You are always calling. Okay, so over reliance on technology can be addictive, and once they are addictive, always create all sorts of issues with us, especially if it is done negatively, and that sometimes creates some mental health issues. Okay, so your brain is tuned to technology, and that if the brain doesn't access it for some time, it affects your mood and so on. So children, when you have children who are so addicted to tablets and phones, you know that when you take it from them, they start to misbehave. And it tells you, it's an indication that they are getting addicted to it and that you must be able to manage. Then there's also information overload and manipulation. Of course, the information overdrive is becoming a challenging situation. That if you go online and you dig some information, you have tons of it, and sometimes you get so confused about it. Okay, the algorithms driven recommendations overwhelm you with all sorts of things. Then consumer vulnerability and inequality, and then also exposure to harmful content. Sometimes some of the things that we see, we don't expect to see them. All right. Now let's pay attention to this. The issue of misinformation and disinformation. So a lot of times we misinterpret it, but I'm just taking the opportunity to clarify that when it comes to misinformation, basically you are looking at the false or misleading information that is shared without the intent to deceive. So you might have reported something that without any ill intention of deceiving, but the information might be inaccurate. Okay, and it often spread due to ignorance, misunderstanding, or lack of fact check. somebody sharing fake news article on social media, believe it's true. And sometimes you ask them, they argue strongly for it, yet and can show. Then there's also disinformation, that deliberate use of misleading information spread to deceive and often used for political, financial, and ideological gains. Okay, and that one, the politicians use it a lot. All right, so at this point, is your LMS uploaded?
Yes,
Good.
please, it is.
Is it loaded?
Yes, please.
So do you see this slide?
So unless I log into to check.
Because I put a case study, I put an article. You suppose there's an article that I want you to review. Okay, so we'll break for 30 minutes and then you review that article. And then when we come back, we'll look at it briefly. Okay.
So the article is on our LMS.
But what I'm going to do is that let me share it with you here.
Okay, then okay, say all right.
Let me share it with you here because I don't know if you've loaded it. Unfortunately, I don't have access to LMS, so I don't know whether it's been loaded or not.
Okay.
But let me share with you.
On our WhatsApp group.
On your platform, on your WhatsApp, yes.
Okay,
and then we have 30 minutes. It's 2:16. Let's say 2:26. Let's say we start from 2:30. We come back at 3:00, and then we come and discuss it. Does it work for all of?
Yes, please, it does.
All right. So we'll do it like that.
Very well, sir.
So I'm sharing with you briefly.
Okay.
Okay, so we are back. Are we been able to go through the essays?
Yes, please.
Okay, so let's use a little bit of time to look at it. What does the case say? This one was equal opportunity, so I can call anybody, right? But this one, everybody participated. So I'll just look on the screen, whichever names come first, I'll just mention it. All right. Fafa. Is Fafa on the line?
Hello, sir. I'm here.
Yeah,
Sir,
Fafa,
please
let's
hold
hear
on.
you.
Okay.
I can't hear you.
Sir, please, I am opening my slides. Please hold on. Sir, please, the overall strength, the clear purpose and scope. The article successfully introduces a special issue, explains the evolution of consumer behavior due to digital technologies, and
Fafa,
highlights issues.
Fafa, I don't want you to read to me. You need to tell me what you have learned from the case. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So tell me in your own language what you have gathered from it.
All right, then, sir, please give me some few minutes. Let me put
So
myself
the 30
together.
minutes wasn't enough.
Sir, please,
Okay.
I was using my phone. My laptop had gone down, so I was using my phone.
Okay, let's go to Clement. 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 Okay. What in Elias?
Yes, sir.
Yes. What did you learn from the article?
It explains that consumers are no longer passive buyers, and people now interact with their brands online. They leave reviews. They also share their opinions, and also
Thank you. Thank you. You have said enough. Thank you. Who else? Eric. Kwame Manti. Mediaku.
Yes, sir.
Yes. What have you learned?
Okay, so I've learned that consumer behavior digitally is quite similar to the traditional, except that there are other patterns uh, that are critical to consumers buying from you because they are very sensitive, they are value driven, they should be digitally connected in order to patronize your goods or your wear.
All right. Okay. Sefako. Sefako. Um, Is Efako not on the line? Okay, anybody? Let me hear from my friend Mawan.
Yes, sir. Dog, I'm here.
Yes.
Uh,
What have you gathered from the article?
there's a portion that the article is arguing that businesses must understand the modern consumer behavior in order for them to attract, engage, and then retain online consumers.
Oh, okay. All right. That is fine. William.
Okay.
William, is here.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes. So what I've also gathered is the article seeks to find out the factors that affects consumer behavior online. And some of these factors are user experience. We have user-generated content and also electronic word of mouth. But these factors are product specific. So each product has its own peculiar kind of factors that affects it. So it's incumbent on companies to study the footprint, the digital footprints of consumers, so that they will be able to identify which factors really affects their behavior, so that for them to be able to tailor their advertisements and efforts in creating awareness and then maintaining or
Thank you.
retaining
Thank
these
you.
customers.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me hear from Anthony.
Yes, so
Anthony.
say the article examines how digital technologies, especially the internet, the social media, and the mobile platform, have transformed consumer behavior. And it also let us know that consumer nowadays generate data through social media activities, website interaction, and also online purchases. Whilst firms also use that data in order to segment their market and also personalize their marketing strategies, and also predict the behavior of the consumers in order to, modify their product to suit the consumers to maintain them. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me hear from Paul.
Hello, sir. So what I also read from the article is looking at the mobile applications. In all that we are talking about, consumers are fast learning and other things. So having mobile phone as one of their gadgets that they use these days, we need to also concentrate much on the applications that are run on the phone so that they will be able to access the information that they may need to take a purchase decision. Thank you.
All right. Let me hear from Nyamitie. Clary Nyamitie. She online. Kenu.
Sir, please, did you just mention Penu?
Yes.
He has a very severe stomach pain, so he's online, but he's not so active. He
Okay.
said he's not feeling well at all. So
Okay.
yes, please.
All right.
Doctor, please, Papa is here.
Okay, Fafa, welcome.
Thank you. Doctor, please, the focus is a shift from traditional to digital customer journeys, and companies must pay attention to customer engagement and online reputation.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. thanks for everybody's efforts. That is fine. At least we've read something. I mean, just to also confirm that what we have been discussing since the beginning is not far away from what is in literature, isn't it? So a lot of the things we've mentioned, you can find them in there. And so that's how I'd want us to be learning some of these things. Either you come with an article or a case study where we can all go through and then, discuss it and see how it aligns with what we are doing. And I believe it gives us a better understanding. All right, so we'll move to the next stage, which is about segmentation, targeting, and position in digital branding. And when we talk about segmentation, what comes to mind? When we talk about segmentation and positioning, what comes to mind?
Doc.
Yes, Eric.
So it's more about specialization in the realizing the various specialized groups that you need to address, and so that you'll be able to better satisfy your consumers. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Any more ideas? Any more ideas? All right.
Yes,
so, okay, William.
This is about grouping your customers, maybe demographically or any other relevant groups, so that you can really target this audience with the necessary advertisements or that you want to do to attract these customers.
All right. Any point? I need a lady. I need a lady. Will Fafa bail me out this time?
Hello, Dr. Abdul. Okay, so Doctor, what comes to mind is when it comes to segmentation and positioning is these two are the core ideas in marketing that goes hand in hand. And when it comes to segmentation, the splitting of the market into groups, be demographic, geographical, and then behavioral, and also with positioning. And then also in positioning, when someone thinks of why it should think over competition.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So let's look at what the literature says. So basically, these are just the segmentation, targeting, and positioning, basically a framework that is used to identify specific consumer groups, as Eric indicated, and select the most attractive segments and position a brand effectively within these groups. So, I'm sure that even in this class, okay, even in this classroom, the 18 of you people have already segmented, isn't it? I don't know how often you have met in person, but I'm sure that when I mentioned Penu's name, somebody stepped in and said, oh, he's having a severe pain, so he's probably taking some time off. It tells you that, why is it that Penu did not tell the class rep or did not go to tell anybody else, tell Fafa or any other person? The point is that segmentation may happen naturally. Okay, in our daily lives, when you are in a workplace, you scan the market, you segment the people there, you know who and who you align with and who you don't align. It's not like you don't hate them or you don't want to be with them, but there are certain people who you segment or you align with in certain ways that they do their things or their beliefs and perceptions. Okay, but when it comes to business, there are specific methodology that is used or a design that is used to actually identify who best fits what we sell. Okay, so it is important to identify the consumer groups and then also select the most attractive segments. So it means that, one, there's a consumer groupings, and out of the groupings, you must select the most attractive segment for your brand. So, for instance, you may be selling shoes. Now, can anybody tell me that you walk into a shoe shop that you are likely to get a shoe of all sizes, from toddler to a 70-year-old person shoe? Does it happen often? Is this something you see often?
No, sir.
Not often.
In fact, you hardly see a one shop that has shoes from toddler, baby, to like 70-year-old person. No, they always specialize. So it tells you that there are general groupings of a market, and then there are selections of market that are attractive enough to your segment. So based on where probably you live, if you live in an area where has a lot of parents, okay, middle class parents whose children go to school, of course, they want to change their shoes almost every semester. And you know, kids grow fast. So these days, the kind of kids that we have, you buy shoes for them to go to school. In fact, almost every year you have to buy a new set of shoes or maybe uniforms, because they grow very fast. So why would you go and sell adult shoes in a school whereby you know kids are there and the parents will buy shoes for their children? Although it is parents that will buy, but the children will be the ones to wear. And so if you want to attract, you know that you are attracting parents, but the children who are going to wear the shoes. That should be clear in your mind. Now, segmentation basically divides a broader market into distinct groups based on shared characteristics such as demographics, psychographics, or behavioral. There are a few more variables beyond this, but we'll get there when we progress. Now, then targeting basically involves evaluating and choosing the most suitable segment based on strategic relevance and profitability. So you can scan the market. It's like, well, you know, here in Ghana, businesses come and everybody wants to establish it. Like, oh, space to space. What do you call it? Mobile money. So anybody who has more money start mobile money. But the point is, who are you targeting? Mobile money vendor, who could be selling 200 garages going amount. Because in his area, the people there, they don't ask for 200 Ghana cedis. They come and take 50 cedis, 3 cedis, 4 cedis, 5 cedis, maximum 20 cedis at a time. So if you go to that area and you go and ask for even 100 cedis, the vendor won't get it for you. It tells you that the segment is clear. In the same way, you go to certain areas. In fact, even if you want 10,000 right now, they will get it for you. It's because of the segment they serve. All right? And they will be able to target it well. And they know that when this man parks his car and walks to the mobile money vendor, he's cashing in 20,000, 10,000 immediately. So the guys are aware. Then there's no positioning that focus on creating a clear and distinctive brand image in the minds of a chosen audience by communicating unique value and competitive advantages. All right. Now let's look at segmentation itself. Let's look at the details. So we say that in the digital era, businesses must strategically reach the right customers to maximize engagement and conversation. Online STP provides structured approach to help brands identify and connect with these. Okay, now by dividing digital market into meaningful segments, selecting the most strategically valued groups. Now, what we talk about value, you see, we are talking about value in two aspects. We are talking about value for the organization and value proposition. Can anybody explain to me? You know, we are talking about two things. Strategic value groups, okay? And then we are also talking about tailored value proposition. Can anybody explain? Can anybody explain to me? Oh, can anybody assist? Okay.
So the
So,
difference you are saying is strategic value groups and
yes,
which one?
and value proposition. Both talk about value. So, strategic valuable groups. When an organization is talking about valuable groups and also talking about value proposition, what does it mean? All right. So it's like the push and pull. One is in the interest of the organization, the other is in the interest of the consumer. Now let's talk about strategic value groups. So we have already established that for segmentation, you break down the market into valuable ones. When we talk about valuable market, we are talking about a market that offers us that profitability and that expectation that we want from the consumer. Why is it that you are selling children's shoes, but not adult shoes? Maybe the turnover on children's shoes is high. You know that every term, every 3 months, children will go to school, they'll come on holiday, they'll go back to school. Parents are likely to buy shoes for their children, isn't it? So you know that there's high turnover on children's shoes. Whereas on adult shoes, it might happen every month because adults who work and so on. Especially if you are in the middle of, if you find yourself in a middle income group where they are exploring, they want to buy, they wear 1 or 2, they leave it. Especially women, they will buy shoes, go and buy expensive fabric, create something, wear for one particular wedding, and they won't wear it again for a very long time. Okay, so how do you position yourself to attract some of these markets that are valuable enough to give you your profitability that you want? Then on the other side, the value proposition is what are you giving to the consumer that the consumer values? So you are giving me a shoe that will not get torn for me to go and see Adeye or shoemaker. A shoe that I know that when my child even play football with it, the next day, the mouth will not open. That shoe, he still can go to school the next day. You know, you can't manage children when it comes to playing around and doing all sorts of things when they go to school. So what about if me, my son, when you are walking with him by the roadside or, you know, when he has time, you'll just be kicking sand and stones. He enjoys kicking sand and stones. So it means that if the shoe that he's wearing is not good, by the time you walk, just a stroll, walk around the house or walk outside my street, by the time you come back, you have a complete damaged shoe. But that is him. And I know that a lot of children do the same. So the value proposition is what kind of offering or what is so valuable about the offer that you are giving to the consumer, such that the consumer will always come back and buy. And the valuable group is what kind of expectation do you anticipate from the market in terms of profitability and offerings in return to what you are also offering as a value proposition. Am I right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now let's look at some variables that influence segmentation. So for segmentation, according to Kotler and Keller 2016, although this is very common, but there are types of variables used in segmentation. Basically, demographics, psychographic, behavioral, and geographic in segmentation. Now, unfortunately, we are always tempted to make it look as if you only need one. Maybe if you are segmenting a market, you need demographic segmentation, and that is it. Oh, now I always liken it to when you take a woman to the house right now that you want to marry. Parents are going to ask you certain questions. In fact, the first day, when you introduce your woman to your parents, they're going to ask of her name. And then when they ask of her name, they'll probably, out of the conversation, but if you are come from a very decent, very restrained, less trouble family, they won't ask like the tribe you come from. But these days, somebody will ask you immediately what tribe you come from, what work you do. In fact, if you go and meet those who went to Kwabuche and at disco and Wesley girls and those things, they'll start asking you which school you attended. In fact, they want to weigh you immediately to see if you are close to them or if you are above them. If they see that you went to my secondary school, then immediately they just indirectly at the back of their mind, they've condemned you already. But the point I'm trying to make is that to have an effective segment, you need to segment the variables based on a complementary effect of all the variables. So, for instance, you ask of the age. You want to identify a target market. You cannot use only age to identify a target market. And that is why a lot of times when we are talking about those of us who are into pure marketing, when we talk about a target audience, they will say the youth. When we ask them, what is the youth? They will say, oh, people from the age of 18 to 35. Some will say 18 to 40. Some will say 16 to 40. But can you use only age as a segment of the market? No. Recently, when Shatawale went to perform at the Gomwa, we saw an older woman. A woman who is almost in the 70s saying that what is Shatawale and kind of so hunikeke. It's a woman who is like 70 years. Under normal circumstances, you would think that wapa segment, you know. But this is a woman who wanted to see this guy. So I'm told, somebody showed me on Facebook that she waited for a very long time before, just waiting to see Shatawale. It tells you that now the market is getting a bit complicated. And for that matter, it is important to look beyond one single variable as a mechanism for segmenting your market. So you must take a portion of almost every bit. Now, in any case, when you took your girlfriend to the house, don't you know that there are certain aspects of these variables that parents will see on their own? You don't need to tell them. For instance, if the person does not respect, you are not going to tell your parents that my girlfriend don't respect. But your parents will get to know through some of her actions that this girl does not respect. And how do they get to know? They are going to use behavioral segmentation to identify, how are they going to do that? Maybe the way she answers certain questions. You know, I remember my mother tells me that back then when the first time my father took her to his house, my grandmother's place at Takrady, my grandmother has a way of testing people that his male children marry. And what they do is that, what she was doing back then is that, you know, the Fantis have a very interesting stew. They call it intitio, the fresh fish stew. It's a very difficult stew to make. You know, those of you who know food, you realize that it's not food, it's not something that the modern generation don't cook, because if you try it and you don't do it well, whoever eats the stew is going to run. It's going to have a stomach upset. And so what my grandmother, according to my mother, what my grandmother used to do is that any woman who came to the house, your first test was to, that day, my grandmother was, whether you like it or not, she will cook the local banku and that stew. And she will tell you to prepare it for her in a very nice way. And if you fail, maybe will tell his children that this woman is not good, so don't let her come to this house again. So there are ways of segmenting that are very silent, and some of them are behavioral and psychographical. Okay, unlike the demographic and geographic that are very straightforward and easy to manage, easy to identify. All right. When we talk about psychographical, you're looking at lifestyle. and the value interest. How somebody you can be asked a very simple question, and based on how moderate you explain yourself, then the person will know that you are a very humble person. Nobody is going to ask you, are you humble or not? But some of your actions will tell the parents that, oh, this girl is a very humble girl, because they are going to ask you certain questions that they predict, that will show the segment you belong to. And there it will tell you, isn't it? Now, here in Ghana, one of the very easy ways of psychographical segmentation is lifestyle, the kind of cars people drive. I mean, when people walk into your shop and you see the kind of vehicles they drive, it tells you where they belong right from the beginning. Although sometimes it can be deceitful, but it gives an idea, the kind of segment you are dealing with. So it is important. My key point in this discussion is that when it comes to segmentation, it is important to understand how to put them together to develop a market, to nurture or to mold a market. So you take geographical, you take demographic, you take psychographic, and you take behavioral, you put them together before it can become a market. So don't go saying that your target is the youth. Because when you say youth, you are mentioning age. And age is only one variable which falls under demographics. So it means that if I'm asking you in examination, if I'm asking you a question about segmentation, and you keep on telling me about age, sex, education, income, all you are doing is that you are telling me that your segment is based on demographics. But I want to see the mix. I want to see how you're able to mix geographic, demographic, psychographic, and behavioral to mold a certain market that is viable. Now, it is believed that, and it's in literature, established in literature, that if you're able to mix it well, that is where you can call it a target market. You understand? That's where you can call it a sustainable target market. In that sense. Any question? Yes. Yes.
I'm trying to understand the difference between the value proposition and the strategic valuable groups.
Okay.
And so in the case of the old woman that you cited with Shatawale,
yeah.
In your value proposition, you spread the targeting to cover the woman, though we can say in this case, with analysis, she might be an outlier, but all the same, your value proposition would cover her. But then in order to identify your strategic valuable groups, you'll be looking at the youth as your strategically valuable groups.
Yes.
Presenting the product Shatawale.
Exactly.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
You understand? That's exactly. Okay. But what is Shatawale offering? If you take the brand Shatawale, in your mind, what is Shatawale offering? Primarily, when it comes to entertainment, Shatawale is offering energy, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Whatever he says, all that is just energy level. But why would an old woman who is out of his target audience be interested in seeing Shatawale? In success, people also want to see, Napoi Oyen is saying, how did he get there? Who wanna cry? You understand? And that's WannaCry also has a way of attracting certain people who are out of your reach, and they will come as observers. You know that between you and me, you know that woman is not going to buy or not going to download Shatawale's music on his phone. You understand?
Yes, Doc, I do. But okay, so her reason for following Shatawale might be varied. Sometimes it might be that she wants the brand Shatawale for her children, her grandchildren, or something.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
that's how I see it.
All right. Thanks. Any more questions? Does it bring any more questions so we can move? We can clear all doubts on it. Okay. So like I'm saying, in an examination, I would want to see how you mold your market, how you mix it. In fact, you see, for those of us digital advocates, this is what we must learn to do perfectly to stay relevant in a digital ecosystem. If you fail to mix it well and position yourself, well, if you don't mix it well, you cannot position yourself. All right. So it's like taking the girl to your mother. Your mother you only said your name. Your mother hasn't asked of what she does. She doesn't know her education level. She doesn't know the kind of work she does. She doesn't ask anything about her behavior and stuff. When you say you want to marry her, do you think it will be easy? Your mother will just accept it? But the first question she may ask you is that, hey, no, but what's studying here? Because she herself is not sure of what she's seeing. All right. So it is important for you to now have a mix, to be able to mold the mix and project it in a way that makes it easy for your mother to see and say, oh, this girl is good. So based on the kind of introduction that you make to your mother or your parents for the first time, it gives them a complete impression about the person. So you walk to your parents and you introduce Fafa to your parents. Oh, Fafa works with social and so. Fafa is this, Fafa does that, Fafa does that. Per her name, you know that, oh, she's an Ewe. So it makes it comfortable. I mean, if your mother doesn't like Ewe people, in fact, you may see it right from there. You don't need to complicate yourself. So it gives clarity to what you want to achieve at the end of the day. You don't wait and continue the relationship, and the day you say you want to marry, mommy says, no, I don't want any of my children to marry an Ewe person. Then it becomes a problem. You might have put in a lot of investment. That's, I don't know whether that one too is a scam. I'm yet to know. That's part of the romance scam. So those are the things that's how you mold the market. But let's look at definitely how to identify specific markets. So there are different ways of identifying markets. Now, so the first you must know is the total available market. Then you scale it down to serviceable available markets and then serviceable obtainable markets. Let's go into details. Now, when you talk about total available market, you are looking at the total market demand for product or service. In other words, the biggest available market for the brand. Now, you realize that a lot of times when you estimate a market value, so for instance, in a news article for maybe technology, it is believed that the value for technology business all over the world exceeds trillions, maybe 100 trillions of dollars. That's the total value of that market all over the world. If it comes to Africa, we say out of the 8 trillion, Africa is doing 2 trillion, Asia is doing 4 trillion, America is doing 2 trillion, Europe is doing 1 trillion. But if you put it together universally, there's a total available market for that particular service or offering. Let's say phones. The demand for phones all over the world is a certain value. You can break it to Africa, Europe, intercontinental, and stuff. But let's look at serviceable available markets. It is the subset of the total available market, and it's the portion of the total available market that fits your products and services. Now, you know that when we talk about the phone, now, aside the iOS phones and the Android phones, now, you know, Microsoft, now there are Microsoft phones, right? And I don't know whether it falls between any of them. Can anybody educate us on that? Now, Microsoft phones and Microsoft laptops, isn't it? And where do they fall? Do they fall under iOS or they are also Android? Can anybody help us? Okay, let's make progress. So if you look at the total market of phones, you notice that there are Android phones and there are iOS phones. So which of them do you want to sell? Maybe you want to sell only Android phones. And so for you, your serviceable available market is only Android phones. That is about 40% of the total value of the total available market. So one, we have identified the first one with the total available market. Now we enter into the phone market and we say, no, looking at what is happening, our target audience or where we live in Africa, people don't like iPhones. They prefer iOS, they prefer what do you call it? Android phones. So we are going to focus only selling Android phones, which is about 40% of the total available market. All right. Now we drill it down further. Now within the Android phones, what kind of phones are we selling? What type of Android are we selling? Which is the serviceable obtainable market. That is a subset of the sum. A segment of the serviceable available market that you can realistically reach after considering factors like product differentiation, budget, and competition. So you know that you cannot sell here in Ghana. If you want to sell original phones, they are much more expensive. And the average Ghanaian can't afford original phones. So we go for the China ones. The China ones, manageable. So the same brand, the same variant, but less quality of a sort that is acceptable for use within the Ghanaian market, which becomes your serviceable available market. However, in identifying your serviceable available market, you must understand that it must meet your expectation, your value proposition. This is where the value proposition comes in. Are you sure that you can sell it? You can offer the value that the market expects. And once you can do that, that becomes your serviceable, obtainable markets. Any question on this one? So this is how it goes. So largely, you go to the total available market, then you come to the serviceable available markets, and then you come to the serviceable obtainable market, which is the green one, which is the final target. So for example, you come across Nike, that what it does is that it's one of the world's largest sportswear brand, effectively applies segmentation to its market strategy. So what do? They segment its audience based on several key factors: demographics. They segment by age, gender, income, and income levels. And then they also do psychographic. They do lifestyle, interests, and value. And then behavioral segments, purchasing behavior and product usage. Now you notice that although they have segmented this individually, but universally it becomes one brand. It becomes a Nike brand with different variants, indicating specific interests to certain specific people. All right, now let's look at targeting. So when we come to targeting, basically it's also the process of evaluating market segment and selecting the most attractive one to serve, according to Keller and Candler 2016. And in an online branding, target is enhanced by digital tools such as programmatic advertising, search engine optimization, personal email, marketing and allowing brands to reach precise consumer niches. So when it comes to targeting, there are a couple of approaches. So you can look at mass targets, you can look at niche, you can look at micro targets. Now, when we are looking at the mass, that's through an online advert across board audience. And I know I've noticed that here in Ghana, a lot of people who are into online engagement focus on mass targeting. And so you'll be there and you receive certain, once you meet the criteria, the algorithm is definitely going to throw the advert to you. But a lot of times you don't get people reacting positively because your advertisement is mass. It's a general one that does not focus on anything. And of course, if the concept does not focus on anything, it blurs the value proposition that you want to give out. Don't forget that the value proposition should be something specific that the consumer can put fingers on and say, okay, oh, because consumers, as consumers, we also make our calculations. If I'm buying this laptop and I can't detach it and convert it into a tablet, but another one is offering me the same price, another brand that I can detach and at some point in time convert it into a tablet, use it for presentation, take it out and do other things and come back. I prefer that one to a normal laptop that has only one single use. You understand? So the concept must show a certain value that the consumer can now analyze and make a decision that it is the right brand or a right offering that will benefit him or her. Now, there's also the niche target that focus on specific interest groups like vegan, skincare enthusiasts, and so on. Then we also have the micro targeting, enabled by social media platforms that allow ads based on individual preference and behaviors. So the micro targeting further skims it down to much more direct or micro target that helps you to identify and serve the market much better. Now, a target audience is basically a specific group of people that you want to reach with your market. That means marketing collaterals from emails to, your branding storyline should appeal to this group of people. All right. So what it means is that if you are targeting well, you realize that everything that you do actually reach them directly and they're able to appreciate what you do. Right. And then this is also an example. So for targets in an assisted living facility. So main target market is senior citizens, but target audience one is senior citizens in Accra, and then adults with senior partners in the greater Accra region. So like I said, just like the children's situation, when you sell children's shoes, you don't target the children, you target parents because they will buy for them, especially toddlers. For a toddler, you don't even know what they are wearing. They don't. All they need is to keep their foot warm so that they don't catch cold, they don't get sick. That's all their interest. So it is the responsibility of the parent to now decide what to buy for. And so when we are targeting, we target the parent, not the toddler. Okay. Now let's look at positioning. So in positioning, it's basically refers to design the brand offering an image to occupy a distinct place in. Okay. Yes, a hand is up. I don't know the name, but I see Samsung. Yes, let me hear from you. Identify yourself and speak, please.
Dog, this is my one.
Okay, my one, let me hear from you.
Okay. So, I think earlier on we touched on behavioral, psychographic, and demographic segmentation.
Right.
How will this influence or transition from that to this TAM, and then that's total market, and then serviceable market? How would we transition from this cycle behavior and to
Okay.
let me see.
Okay.
I'm
So,
a little confused with those things.
all right. That is fine. Let me go over again. Let me try and go over again. So what I'm trying to say is that generally, you segment the market. Now,
Okay.
in segmenting the market, there are specific variables that you must use to identify who you want to target. But targeting it is only one aspect of it. After targeting it, what you must be interested in is this one, what we discussed earlier on, what is your strategic valuable groups. Do you understand? If you remember, I said that that's why it is part of the reason why I spend time here trying to explain what these two things mean. Value proposition and strategic valuable groups. You see,
okay,
you must, and if you remember, I also indicated that the strategic valuable groups is the company's interest. What is the company interested in? What the company is getting from the consumer. So how much profit am I making? How accessible is the market? Those are strategic valuable groups. Those are the things that formulate the strategic valuable groups. However, when you have an offering or when you have a product, what is the value proposition are you giving to the consumer to be able to also get the valuable things? And they are both issues of value. So the relationship must be mutual. If I'm offering you value, you must be ready to pay for that value, isn't it? Are you getting my point?
Yes.
So if the company is offering a certain value, for instance, if you decide to go for a medical checkup, and then, for instance, those of you who know Lancet, have you checked the cost of running a test, maybe a malaria test in Lancet against malaria tests in an ordinary hospital and other test houses? You realize that Lancet is a bit expensive, isn't it?
Expensive, yes.
But you also know the queue there, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what do you think is happening there? It's the value, and the value proposition is that the accuracy of the report, one.
Of the report,
the speed that they deliver is two.
Yeah.
Understand? The environment, the ambience and the environment. The only reason why I go to Lancet is that anytime I go there and they put a needle in my arm, I don't feel it. Like I don't feel the pain. Like the way I feel in the hospital and other places. So I only go to Lancet specifically so that I don't feel that pain. So that if you want to talk about me, that is my value proposition. That is my interest. You understand? So you must be able to offer something to the consumer that will now then make the consumer be ready to pay. But before you do that, I'm sure you have a business, my one. Don't you have a business?
I do.
Yes. What business are you into?
I'm into farming products.
Farming products. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know that your location, you are in the Blue region.
Yes.
So the question is, why did you decide to go into farming tools? Why didn't you go into consumables or maybe technology products?
Because the area that we are, this area is basically yes.
Exactly. So you see, and if I tell you that, so you can, it's right to say that about 60% of the people in the Pro half are engaged in farming one way or the other.
Yes.
Can we confidently say that?
Yes, Doc.
Good. So what it means is that your total available market is the entire people or the entire farming community of Brong Ahafo region.
Yeah.
You understand? Now,
Yes.
let's look at sustainable, serviceable, available markets. Maybe you sell fertilizer or boots.
Yes.
What kind of farmers buy fertilizer? Mainly the cocoa farmers, isn't it?
Yes.
So
The cocoa and the maize farmers. Yeah.
Good. So your serviceable available market to be the cocoa farmers and the maize farmers.
Yeah.
So you can put a value on it and say that, oh, so when you decide to go for a loan at the bank for the season, you know how much money to take because you know how much sales you are likely.
I get it now.
You get a point.
Yes, Doc. I know.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I understand it now.
But let me finish. But where the two concepts meet, the consumer, what do you call it? The segmentation variables and the market meets is where you get to the exact point, the middle point, which is the final one.
Service obtainable market.
Service obtainable markets.
Yeah.
That is where you use those variables to really drill down to see which of them you are likely to get.
Okay.
You understand? And in this one, the variables you are likely to use, you are not going to use, you may include lifestyle because there are certain people who don't believe in peasant farming, isn't it? So they want to buy in volumes, bigger quantity because they have a very vast land, bigger quantities, they use tractors, and so they have a way of buying, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you also have, so when they buy and they don't even pay you immediately, you know that, oh, you can make some payment arrangement and that will happen. So that is where those segmentation variables can actually be seen in helping you to identify the exact what will help you to achieve your customer expectations.
Very well.
All right. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Don.
Welcome. So let's progress. So we're looking at positioning, and we said that it is how you are able to establish the brand offering and the image in the person's mind. So when you took the lady to your house to introduce your parents, right away, looking at your parents, look outside and look at the vehicle standing out there. This is a lady who drives in a Range Rover. And then she works in the office of the president. So when your son tells you that, well, this is Papa, she works in the office of the president, she's an assistant to the vice president, she's a PhD holder, she's this. So you know at the back of your mind, your mother knows that for nothing, the person is well established. And you know that when in such a conversation, when the lady goes away, your mother will ask you, hey, you understand? Because your mother will now get to know that, hey, segment where they are day. Where the value proposition and your mother will start crying for you before you yourself you start crying. You see the way it happens. So in the same way, you should be able to make an offer that can, out of the experience that the customer gets from your engagement, will create an imprint in the mind of the consumer. You position it in a way that the consumer will see it as such. Some of the nicest food that you get in town, if you go and see where they prepare the food, you will never eat it again. But they will never show you where they cook the food. You only see where they serve the food and the taste. So you go there and you are happy. You think you are at the best restaurant with the best food. But when you go and see where they cook it, you won't eat again. That's how it works. So it is what the organization want you to see, and the way they position the brand in your mind, that, oh, this place is the best restaurant, you get the best of food, you get the best of service. As to how they get there, you are not interested as a consumer. And that is the job of positioning, being able to place it in your mind that what you have is the best offer, and that there's nothing in the world that gives you anything than what we are offering you. Now, online positioning strategies include differentiation by value, and value by price, by quality and offering, emotional positioning and sustainable positioning. Emotional positioning, we are talking about building community and brand value through online engagement. That you tell a story, you create a story that resonates with people's emotions, and then people will follow you. Now, a typical example is recently that Lumbers case, Olobroni and Akosia Sewa. There are a lot of people who are following the Akosia Sewa. What is their problem? They are disappointed wives, isn't it? A lot of them disappointed wives who are not happy with what has happened. Yes, a lot of them are disappointed wives. And when you come to Olobroni to side chicks, that's why job also, because they think that they also now have a case that if you're a side chick and you are behaving well, you too, you can get a lot in the long run. So maybe it's, something, it's a way that now side chicks are coming to behave themselves a bit better. You understand? So sometimes you hear a story and you feel sad, or you can align with the person because you have experienced it before. And that at the back of your mind, you have positioned that story already. So it can easily connect with another person with the same story and make a case. And that's how emotional positioning happens. Then sustainability position, we look at ethical and eco-conscious branding strategies. Okay, that helps you to actually meet the demands of a lot of what do you call it? Modern consumer expectations. All right, now let's look at some position mix. So when it comes to positioning, so you are looking at pricing, you are looking at product, you are looking at promotion and distribution. Now the question is, how do you mix it? To be technically efficient in this. For instance, if your product is a premium product, then it means that your price must also be premium. You cannot sell a premium product for a low price. In fact, you can't go and buy a Mercedes-Benz. If anybody is selling Mercedes-Benz to you, somebody tells you, I'm selling Mercedes-Benz to you, 50,000 Ghana cedis. What do you think you are buying? You know the value, even if you say
You are buying the chassis.
Aha, you are
Buying problem.
In fact, I'll tell you. So I work with Silver Star. So I used to be their head of marketing for like 8 years. So I know a lot about Mercedes-Benz. In fact, the M class and the G-Wagon, the shock absorber can cost you over 50,000 cedis. Engineers will be so ton 50,000 cedis worth of Mercedes-Benz. I say a complete scrap on the amount. The shock back can, some of them cost more. Those ones that are hydraulic, those ones with comfortable high level of compatibility. One shock, Asad, this is like 2018 when I was still the head of marketing. It could cost, as at that time, one could cost you over 50,000. Shock back. Between shocks like 100,000 cedis keke. That's how expensive it can be. Okay, so if somebody tells you, looking at the value of the brand and the price, if somebody is giving you to a certain price, then you know it's chances that you are buying, like he said. Then what kind of promotion do you do? Do you ever see Mercedes-Benz running advert on GTV every day, prime news every day? No, because their target audience is not mass market. It's the highest, the pinnacle of luxury. So I remember those days we used to go for golf. I used to be a member. I've stopped playing at Chimota Golf Club as the head of marketing. All the clubs, East Legon Club, House of Chiefs. I'm a friend of a lot of the chiefs because they used to buy vehicles from me. Most of the university chancellors, they all buy vehicles from back then. They all buy vehicles. So I know all of them. But the point is, when you go there, it is a value proposition that they are offering. So what are you promoting? You are promoting prestige and you are offering exclusivity. Sometimes somebody can come and say, I want a model that is not common in town. So, and you know, it got to, in fact, from 2010 coming, the Mercedes, in fact, if you bought a brand new Mercedes Benz, what we did was that you actually assembled the car here. There's an application that a salesman will sit with you for about 2 days. You yourself, what you are going to do is that you will model your car. In the equipment to be our power car, now you choose it. All of them come at a cost. So you start at zero. Maybe you choose a type, a specific rim size, and there's a star. It comes with the price. Now they are share. Then you choose the bonnet design. Now they are share. It will give you a price. Then you choose a grill. You put it there to give you a price. You decide an engine. Then you come to the interior. So by the time you finish, you will know the price of the car you yourself have produced. Before we go and proceed, we send the order to Germany for them to produce it for you. So that is exclusivity to a certain point. And that thing, you'll be surprised how it was able to get a lot of people to emotionally connect with the car. Can you imagine how interesting it is? But this concept, you think that it is a storyline, but it really works. It was far, far effective than going on radio, TV, and blowing your horns here and there. You understand? So, based on the position of the brand, you have to decide on the mix that helps you to position the brand the way it should. And in the case of the Mercedes-Benz, I've told you how it is. But if you sell Mentos gum, which you can find by the roadside, every corner, what is it? It is not a durable product, either is it a premium product. It's a basic product. Now, you cannot expect value from or premium from a basic product. So what do you do? Low price. That is why some of the Mentos gum, you can buy it at 1 cedi, 50 pesos. What do you think when I say because it is what? It's cheap. It's a basic product. There's nothing in it, just chemicals and sugar mixed with colors. Something to make you, and mint, something to make you feel like you are refreshing your mouth and refreshing the body. That's all. It doesn't have any nutritional value. So it's a very basic product. So such a product, what do? You go for a low price. And then when it comes to promotion, what do? You can only go for something that is fun. You cannot go for any prestigious or powerful promotion. And then when it comes to distribution, you have to intensify. That's why you can see it in traffic and every shop, because you use an intensive distribution strategy, which is spread around all over the place. And that's how you position the brand in the mind of the consumer. Any question on this one? And again, this is an example. So Nike position it as an innovative, high performance and inspirational brand by using "Just Do It" slogan to inspire all customers from athletic to casual fitness enthusiasts. You see, you would think that Nike is for sportsmen, but there are people who also wear it for casual reasons. Okay, offering cutting-edge technology. If you say you are innovative, one of the first things you must look for is technology. Technology must show in your innovation, because you cannot say you are innovative when you don't show any form of technology. And then technology, Gold Coast technology. So you must ensure that technology is there. And in fact, cutting edge. which means that the newest technology, the most efficient technology, you must be aligned with it. Okay, then creating strong emotional connection through storytelling in campaigns. So what are they doing? Highlighting athletic struggles and victories. You understand? So what are they doing? They are writing storylines on how people have failed, struggled, and how people have succeeded. What does it mean is that if you have failed before, you can align with the brand. If you have succeeded before, you can align with the brand. So whichever way you see it, you are part of them. You see how they've created it. Now let's look at the third one. Collaborate with celebrities and influencers to maintain brand relevance across different customer groups. Okay, that I won't waste my time on it. But let's look at some benefit of online segmentation. Increase relevance. If you on online engagement, if you can segment well, target and position your brand well, increase relevance. Okay, and then also higher conversion rates. So you see, a lot of people are online, they are sharing a lot of information, nobody responding. Because they are following the mass market. They are not focusing on the serviceable, obtainable markets. They are still focusing on the total available market, which is very open and very competitive that you can't. You don't have enough resources to fight that. I mean, if you advertise on Facebook and someone to a point that somebody in the US can see your advert, you tell me who will come and buy a phone, who from the US will come and buy a phone from Ghana. They are not interested in a US person, a British person will not come from there to come and buy a phone from here. And the reason is that Ghana is not an innovative and technology hub where we produce phones. But a Chinese man, when a Chinese man advertises phone in the US, it has some sense in it because it is assumed that China is a technology hub, and anytime I want to buy, I can buy. No, it's actually real. You understand? Maybe the only thing you can advertise in Ghana for somebody from the US to buy is fufu. Fufu so if you want just a higher. You understand? And then also improve customer satisfaction with the understanding and creating to specific customer needs can enhance overall customer satisfaction. That I've already explained. Now let's look at the model in digital context enables brand to identify, select, and create accordingly. So basically, the framework allows to navigate complexities of digital brand consumers. Crafting precise strategies, build strong, differentiate identities in crowded markets. Leveraging digital data, online brands can achieve deeper personalization, efficiency, targeting, and impactful positioning. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? All right. So
Yes,
what
sir.
I'll do is it? No question.
No questions.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is that although I've already sent it for it to be uploaded, I don't know if they're uploaded. So, but I'll send them to you. There's also a case study that will help you to understand a little bit. So the rest of the time, I'll give it to you. It's now 4:13. I'll give it to you to go through the case study, and we'll discuss it next week based on segmentation. So I'm going to share all the slides with you alongside the case study, and then you go through and then we'll discuss it next week. Is that okay?
All right, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for your time, and then have a good week.
Okay, have a good week too. Bye.
All right.
Have a good week, sir.
Thank you, sir.